So please put your hands together for Neil Harbisson.
Hello? Is it? Yeah? Yeah. Well, I was born with this rare visual condition called achromatopsia, which is total color blindness, so I've never seen color and I don't know what color looks like. But since an early age I wanted to perceive color because color is it's in everyday life. So one of the reasons why I wanted to perceive color is because it's a social element, not because it's a beautiful element. You can see that there's color in elements like orange, green peas, Bluetooth, yellow pages, Red Bull, Pink Panther, yellow submarine. So every single day of my life I was reminded that there was a thing called color that I couldn't perceive. So I had this strong feeling of wanting to extend my senses and perceive color. There's even a whole country called Greenland. So color is in in many subjects. Also it's used as a code. So for example, hot water or cold water, sometimes you only use color codes, or also in maps. This is Lisboa, so it's fine, but if I go to Tokyo and then the map is based on color, you can get easily lost. So one of the reasons was this code use of color. Also this strange situation where it's actually the same flag. And also when color is used as a type of description. If someone asked me if I've seen a man with ginger hair, blue eyes, and dressed in pink, I would have no idea, because the only information I get is that the man has hair, that he has eyes, and that he's not naked. So that's one of the other reasons I wanted to perceive color. It wasn't because I wanted to see color. I wanted just to have this social element in my life. Then I studied piano because I thought that music would have no color, but there I found out that there's also color in music. There's many theories that relate color with sound. Newton did one theory, and there's been many more afterwards that relate color frequencies with sound frequencies, and I was really interested in that. So we started a project at Darlington College of Arts 10 years ago with Adam Montandon, and the project was to extend my senses and allow me to hear colors instead of seeing them, hear them. So we started this project. Actually it will be 10 years this month, and the first prototype was this webcam connected to a 5-kilo computer, and the computer had a software that transposed the light frequencies to sound frequencies, and I would hear them through air conduction with headphones. So I was able to hear the colors in front of me, and this was the first time I was able to distinguish colors through sound. And we had like basic notes, one for each basic color. So it was just 6 colors, but then when I got used to hearing these 6 colors, we added more colors, and the software kept upgrading until I was able to perceive 360 different microtones for 360 hues of the color wheel. And this was in 2007 when I was able to distinguish all of these 360 hues. This is how I perceive them. It's like sine waves, so it's pure sine waves going from F to F. It goes up and up. At the beginning, I had to memorize the name that you give for each color. So if I heard a note, I had to memorize the name of the color. So it was like information that I had to learn. But after some time, this information became subliminal. I didn't have to think anymore. And then there was a point when I started having feelings and favorite colors. So that's how I perceive hue. But then in 2007, we added different volume levels for hue. So if a color is very vivid, I hear it in a higher volume than if it's a dull color. So this gives me the second property of color through volumes. Now I created different headsets so that it would be more comfortable to hear color. The first thing I did was to cut the headphones in half because I couldn't hear people. I was only hearing color at the beginning. Also, we reduced the computer from 5 kilos to 3 kilos, then to 2 kilos. So I was wearing a computer strapped inside in my clothes. And then one of the biggest changes was in 2010 when I stopped using a computer. I started using a chip, and I started using bone conduction instead of using air conduction. This was the biggest change because before I was confusing sounds, normal sounds with colors. But since I use my bone, then I can differentiate visual sounds from audio sounds. So now I have a chip installed at the back of my head pressuring the bone, and I hear the colors through bone conduction, and this has made a huge difference. Now the next step is to avoid this pressure to the bone and to have the input of the sound inside the bone, and also to start using my own energy to charge the chip, because I still need to charge myself every 3 or 4 days, and I want to use my blood circulation to charge the chip so that I don't need to depend on external energy. Now this is my brain. So for the last 10 years I've been hearing color constantly, so my brain has modified. One of the most interesting changes is that I hear color when I dream. So when I sleep, my brain creates electronic sounds. So if I dream of the sky, my brain creates the C-sharp note, like an electronic sound, which is the sound of the sky. And this is my brain activating both visual and audio parts when there's an image or a sound. Now I had a problem in 2004 because I wanted to renew my passport and I wasn't allowed because there's a law that says that there's no electric equipment is allowed on passport photos. So I explained to the passport office that what they were seeing on the picture had become an extension of my senses. I felt that this cybernetic eye was actually a part of my body and that the software in my brain had united and given me this extra sense. I felt this union between my organism and the cybernetics. I felt cyborg, and this is what I tried to explain to them, that they should allow the electronic eye to appear on my passport because it was part of me. And then they said no, but then I insisted, sending various letters, and in the end they allowed me to appear on the first, with the first electronic eye, which was still with headphones, so I should actually renew my passport with a new image. Now this helps me travel because when I go through passport, there's always passport controls. There's always problems in airports. But if it appears on your passport, then no one can force you to remove the eye because it's part of your official images. I also have problems in cinemas where people think I'm going to film the film, or also in supermarkets where I think I'm just spying. So it helps to have it on the passport for various reasons. Now there was a point in 2010 that I was able to perceive colors just like anyone that could see them, but I didn't see why I should stop there because there's many more colors that exist that humans cannot perceive. So I decided to continue extending my color perception, and then I added infrared and ultraviolet, so it's just near infrared and near ultraviolet that I can perceive now. So it allows me to perceive if there's movement detectors in a room, or if it's a good day or a bad day to sunbathe, because if I hear ultraviolet, it means that it can damage our skin. So the aim is to continue extending my color perception without a limit, because there's many more colors after near infrared and after near ultraviolet. Now my daily life has changed in many ways. One of the ways is that before I used to dress in a way that it looked good, but now I dress in a way that it sounds good. So this would be a C major combination, so it would be dressed in C major. This would be D, that would be a bit more minor chord. And this would be dressed as a song, because you can actually compose clothes in a way that you can wear a song. This is, for example, a tie that we created that sounds like a piece of... So that's the sound of the tie that I would get in the party, probably. Then also the way I perceive food has changed, because now I can combine food on a plate and eat a song, because if you divide or distribute the food on a plate, you can actually play music with it. So we are creating a sonochromatic menu where you can go to a restaurant and ask for some Vivaldi as a main dish or some Lady Gaga as dessert. This is how I now can compose music by looking at objects instead of playing an instrument. I just look at objects and I can connect my eye to loudspeakers and then create face concerts or just object concerts, color concerts. And my experience of walking around a supermarket has changed a lot, because now it's like going to a nightclub because there's lots of electronic music, and also art museums and visual museums have become like concert halls because I can hear a Picasso or any painting. Milk is silent. So any white things or black things which have no hue or saturation will be silent. So it's the only moment I have silence is when there's no hue or no saturation. This is the sound of the stream. So each painting or each painter has become a composer, so I can actually distinguish easily a painter from another, because they have very different sounds. For example, Andy Warhol sounds very loud usually because he used very saturated colors. So you can hear an Andy Warhol from very far away, whereas more classical paintings are less saturated, so they sound less. Also, faces have changed. My sense of beauty has changed because now beauty doesn't only depend on the shape of the face, it also depends on the colors, on the sound of the colors of the face. So someone might look very bad but sound very good, or it might happen the other way around. So I now create sound portraits where I get close to someone's face and I write down the notes of the eyes, the lips, the skin and the hair, and I create this sound portrait. And then I send them an MP3 of their face. So this is, for example, how an eye sounds. This is a blue eye. And you have the other eye, because sometimes they don't sound exactly the same. Sometimes it's slightly different. Face sounds different, but we all have a common hue, which is orange. Even people that say they're black, they're not black, they're very, very dark orange, and people that say they're white, they're not white, they're very, very light orange. So I think that we're not black and white, we are all of different shades of orange. Also, cities are not gray, which is a thing that I thought was a fact, but it's not. When I used to ask what color is your city, people used to say gray, but since I hear color, I've detected that each city has dominant colors. So I did a European project where I went to each city trying to detect main hues, main colors of cities. And for example, Lisbon is light yellow turquoise, Madrid is amber terracotta, Monaco is salmon and azure. So each city has like two dominant hues, and this is one of the projects I've been doing since. Hearing color has a secondary effect that normal sounds also become color. So when I listen to a radio or I listen to music, I can also perceive color because each note that I hear relates to a color. So since this started happening, I started to paint music and I started to paint what I hear. Like these are the first 300 notes of The Queen of the Night by Mozart. And these are the first 300 notes of Baby Baby by Justin Bieber. So when you transpose music to color, you can visualize which are the dominant colors of a piece or of a composer. Mozart is usually very yellow. And these are two speeches. So when someone speaks, each frequency relates to a color. So this is a transposition of two speeches, syllable by syllable. So this is Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream, and this is a speech by Hitler, which Hitler usually has many, many colors because he used to change the frequency in a very small amount of time. So it gives a very colorful result. So in 2010, Moon Rivas and I decided to create the Cyborg Foundation, which is a foundation that wants to help people become cyborgs. So we want to help people use technology in a way to extend their senses. Also, we want to defend cyborg rights, the right to use cybernetics as part of the body, and also to promote cyborgism as an art movement. We believe that cyborgism can be a very interesting art movement for people that want to use new senses and express themselves through new senses. Now artists have the option of expressing themselves through senses that have never existed before. We've done several projects. One was the internal radar. So Moon is a choreographer, so she used these sensors that vibrated whenever there was movement in front of her, so she could detect movement with her eyes shut, and she would know if someone was moving from left to right or from right to left, and depending on the interval, she would know what speed the person was walking at. Then also this was accepted in her passport, so she was able to travel around. She wore this for several years, also allowed her to detect speed or movement behind her, because if she turned around the sensor, she would detect if someone was behind her or not. Then we also created earboards, which are electronic eyes but the other way around. It allows you to visualize sound, so it transposes sound. And also,
I have a dream that one day, even the...
So it simply picks up the dominant hue, the dominant sound, the dominant frequency of the sound, and transposes it to the hue. Also, we've created cybernetic eyes for blind people, which has a completely different effect, because if you use an electronic eye like this to a blind person that used to see color when they were a child, this actually allows them to remember the color and revisualize the color. So people that remember the color green or remember the color red, they can actually see it again when they hear it, because they remember how it looked like. Also, we've created other electronic eyes that detect obstacles, or We are working on one that will detect just words, so that you don't need to transpose or translate a book into Braille. You can just use an electronic eye that will read the book, and you will hear the book without having it to translate to Braille. Also, we've done the eyeborg app, which allows you to hear the colors with your Android now. It's for free, so you can actually use it as a handheld device as well. Then we have a friend that had a finger missing, and he came to the Cyborg Foundation saying that he wanted to have something else. He didn't want the normal finger, so we added a camera in his finger, and we are planning it to have some extra, so that now it's just allowing him to film and take pictures with his finger, but we want this to be able to extend his senses, so we are planning on finding a way that it can allow him to detect something that he cannot detect now. So the aim is not this, it's not to take pictures and film, it's to somehow allow him to extend senses through this new camera. We're also working on the internal compass, which is just a compass that vibrates when you face north, and it will go at the bottom of the leg, so that whenever you face north, you feel a small vibration to give you a sense of orientation. And also the internal light, which is not cybernetic and is not electronic, but it's just something that could be useful for many people. If you have a tooth missing, you can replace it with a small light, so that in case of total darkness, you have emergency light, and you can use your mask on them. And the latest sense that we're working on is the seismic sense. Moon has been wearing it since April, and it vibrates whenever there's an earthquake in the world. So if now there's an earthquake in China, she will feel a small vibration, because it's connected to online seismographs. And if there's another earthquake in California, she'll also feel it. Now, depending on the Richter scale, the vibration is higher or lower, and this allows her to detect the earthquakes in the world, so it gives her a stronger connection with the earth, and she can use it for her dance performances as well, because she's lately doing one that she waits for an earthquake and she doesn't dance until there's an earthquake. So if there's no earthquake during the performance, she doesn't dance, and this is one of the rules. Now, just to end, I think most of these senses that I talked about are senses that already exist in nature, like the fact that hearing through bone conduction is something that dolphins do. Perceiving infrared and ultraviolet is something that many other insects can detect. Also, knowing where the north is something that sharks can do. Perceiving earthquakes and having internal light is also something that some fishes have. So most of these senses that we are working on are senses that already exist, and that we want to apply to humans by the union between cybernetics and the body. We feel that this can actually help us become closer to the animal kingdom and become closer to nature, and we don't feel that becoming a cyborg will make us less human, but the opposite. It will make us more animal, and it will not make us more robot or more machine, it will make us more human. So I encourage you to think about which senses you would like to extend, and I would encourage you to experiment during a part of your life, having some kind of cybernetic extension to allow you to experience the world in a greater way. Thank you.
Now, with this, at the moment you're looking at this very much on an artistic level and an experimental level. Are we going to start seeing this kind of technology being used for the masses, and how soon do you think that would be?
Yeah, I think that any art movement also becomes a social movement. So we are more interested in the art movement, but I believe that it is also a social movement, because it is actually very uncomfortable to use technology as a tool or as an external tool, and it's much more comfortable to use it as a part of the body. So I believe that there will be more and more people experimenting with technology as part of the body, not as an external thing.
So your eyeborg that you've got here, it's removable? You take it off at night? It's part of you?
Yeah, I don't remove it, no. And it's a part of me. I don't feel that I'm wearing technology, and I don't feel that I'm using technology. I feel that I am technology. I feel that this is a part of my body, and I don't feel the difference between the software and the brain, and I no longer feel the difference between the antenna and my arm. It's a part of me. It's been part of me for 10 years now. So
So as if it's part of you, do you dream? in color, in terms of being able to hear the sounds in color? Does that come into your dreams?
Yeah, yeah. So when I dream, I hear color, and I always have the antenna, and I think it took like 5 months to really feel that this was a part of my body. So it didn't take years. It took just 5 months to feel that this was a part of me.
Neil, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Indeed.